Folks, welcome to FiddleHed Fiddle Lessons. How do you play the fiddle in tune? That's what this series of lessons is about. The previous one I did was on drone tuning. In this lesson we're going to go into how to use call and response loops to catapult your tuning to the next level. So call and response, very old music idea. Somebody is the caller, they sing or play something, and then there's a response. Shave and a haircut, 4 pence, something like that. Call and response. Usually the response is different than the call, but in the case of what we're going to do today, the response is an echo or the exact same thing. And what basically you're going to be doing is a very regular alternation of listening and then playing back what you just heard. Listening, playing, listening in a constant, continuous loop. So what this will do is it will really increase your listening awareness of the whole music, of the whole picture, I should say, of the music you're doing. Alright, so, and I've created on FiddleHed.com an entire library of call and response exercises, and these are really just designed mainly to help improve your tuning, because you're going to get constant feedback on what it should sound like, what you sound like, what it should sound like, what you sound like. But these loops, as you'll see as you start to practice them, will also do a lot of other good things for you. They'll improve your timing, because you'll just get used to playing in time, your flow, so the sense of connection between the different ideas, and then it'll just help you recognize music, because you're going to start to really, as your listening skills develop, you'll be able to have a clear mental model of what you're doing. Alright, so let me just demonstrate what I mean by a call and response loop in which you listen and then play. So I'm going to do an exercise for D1 to 1 open, which is focusing on tuning up D1, which is an E note, okay? So here we go. I'm just going to try it out, and then I'll let you try it at home with a play-along track. So here we go. So I just played it from my speaker. Now I go in the space. I listen. Now I play. So again, when I'm listening, I'm hearing the fiddle part as it should sound, and then after that, there's a space with just a beat and a drone, and then that's where the student, that is, would come in and play. And that's the essential idea of a call and response loop, and I've created a whole library of them. Now some of them are just single notes, so you'll hear maybe D1, and then you'll have a space to play that on your own. Some are 2-note exercises, and those are called intervals. It's a common music term, and there's all different kinds of intervals. There's small ones like D1 to open, and then bigger ones like D1 to A1. So these intervals are very important for improving your tuning, so much so that I have a dedicated lesson to that up next in the course. Alright, but just suffice to say that there's this body of play-along exercises, and there's intervals are one type of them. And then there's also a little bit longer exercises in there. There's a lot of 4-note exercises, like the one we just did. And then even some 8-note exercises, all designed to just really elevate your ear, just really train your ear and to get you to play better in tune through this process of listening and playing. And so there's a few ways to practice these. What I just demonstrated was you would play, one way to do it is to listen and then play. That's the most essential, basic way to do this. Again, that practice would be listening, then playing. But there's another way to practice with the loops, and that's listening then singing. So same idea, but just sing it. Singing's an amazing way to get a better mental model of how the music should sound, tuning as well as the phrases, and it'll really help you play. So I recommend doing this practice. Listen. Next I'll sing the note names. E, F sharp, E, D. So you can practice that too if you want to learn note names and eventually read music. I've added another feature to these loops. So there are a series of repetitions. Now in some of the repetitions, you'll hear my voice go E, F sharp, E, D. So you'll hear that, and so you'll start to, without even trying, you'll start to learn the note names. So that's a whole side benefit that I just added in because I thought it was a good idea to these loops, okay? But you won't hear that every time, which is good because then you'll have to start to remember it on your own. And then there's an education principle behind this, which is called spaced repetition. If you heard it all the time, you would be lazy and you wouldn't bother remembering. But if you hear it once and then you don't hear it for a little bit, then you hear it again, your brain starts to kind of put it together better and remember it. So there's listening and playing, listening and singing, and the last main way you can use the loops is listening and then audiating. And so if you haven't heard that term audiation, what it means simply is hearing music in your head. Everybody does it, but it's a powerful way to practice your tuning and your memory of music and visualization of music. So much so that I have a dedicated lesson for that as well in this tuning course, audiation. But I'll just go over it briefly here, how to use it in the context of this particular practice of using call and response loops. You would listen to the melody and then you would hear it in your head. And if that is hard to do, then all you do is just hum it, whistle it or something, or just play it. But the idea being that if you intentionally try to hear something in your head versus the way audiation normally happens, it's sort of like random, but if you make an intentional practice of it, you'll really be able to hear music better and make a better mental model of what it sounds like. So enough talk, let's try it out. So same process, but now listening, and then I'll attempt to hear it in my head. And so that's the way it would go. You just do your best to visualize. And again, if you find you can't do it, be honest with yourself. Just play it somehow. Hum it, whistle it, sing it, play it, fiddle it, okay? So those are the main ways to practice with these loops, all right? Now, if you've been on FiddleHed before, you know that for all the tunes, there's already existing loops for practicing things. Like say you're learning Carry Polka, the first quarter is. So I want to point out that with any of these existing loops, you can also do a kind of call and response practice. Basically, just listen to it and then play it. I'll play along with it. The main difference will be with the existing loops that are already there for the tunes, there's no gap. So you're not going to ever just hear yourself. And so that's what's kind of cool about this new library of call and response loops, is that with that gap, you don't hear any other fiddle part, you just hear your own instrument, and that'll help you kind of hear yourself better, which is the goal. I want you to be able to hear just the other thing, all right? And so that's part of what this practice is. So another way you can practice call and response without even using any of these loops. Say you're not going to ever go to FiddleHed, you just want to practice call and response somehow. What you can do is you can alternate between singing and playing. So I could go E, F sharp, E, D. F sharp, E, D, and so on, just on my own. You can do this with anything. It's such a great, simple practice, okay? But I just want to point out, yeah, that you can do it with a lot of existing loops on FiddleHed. And then there's another little bit more advanced way to practice call and response, and that's to transpose the little exercise that you're working on up or down an octave. So take the same example, E, F sharp, E, D. I can start it on open E to 1, open E, A3. Alright, and now what I can do is call and response with myself, but between the low octave and the high octave. So this will be another way to improve your tuning. You can have maybe start to get better at the low octave, and that will help you tune up the upper octave. And so in a lot of ways this will help your tuning, you know, and in other places too. You know, now on the E string. But a really great thing about this particular practice, and then this whole call and response practice, and another side benefit, is that you're kind of really training yourself to play with others, and you're training yourself to be an improviser. Because a lot of what improvisation is about is listening and then responding, all right? And so this kind of way of practicing something very technical, which is tuning, is also really training you to be a creator with music. And so you could even take these loops. I just thought of this idea while talking. You could take a whole other application for it. You could have a different response. So if you wanted to start kind of practicing improv on your own, this is what you could do. Listen. So I'm learning to kind of make up a slight variation on the melody that I'm hearing, and in that way practice improv. So consider this lesson a sort of early precursor to an improv course that I'm designing, okay? And so I think that covers everything I wanted to say about call and response as a general practice, but call and response loops that I've created to help you play in tune. And I just want to sum up the main idea. It's the regular alternation between listening and playing, and so that listening just becomes an ingrained, constant, continuous thing that you do, and that's a very important thing. Why? Listening is practice too. Okay, so I want to do one more thing with this lesson, which is simply to, I want to play the play-along track that I've been playing in this lesson for you to practice on your own right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. E, F sharp, E, D. Okay, cool. Hope that is useful to you. Let me know how it goes. Maybe there's a whole other way of helping your tuning that I haven't thought of in this course. So just keep sending the messages, comments, and questions, because all that, your participation is making FiddleHed better. At least I think. I think it's way better than if I was just not sharing this stuff and not listening to you. So, okay, cool. Take care, and we'll see you in the next tuning lesson, which is on interval practice. Go to FiddleHed.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the video. Excellent! And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.